The United States is vast, ranking as the third largest country by both area and population. Despite having 334 million residents, almost half of the country is unoccupied. Interestingly, New York City alone has a larger population than the combined total of the following 9 states. So the question is, why do these sparsely populated states with beautiful landscapes attract so few Americans? Let's find out in this video. Number 9. Maine. Situated so far north that its residents might as well be considered Canadian, shares a landscape resembling our friendly neighbors, complete with enchanting pine forests, glacial lakes, rocky coasts, and, of course, moose. Despite its beauty, why does the state have a sparse population of only 1.385 million, especially when compared to other East Coast states? The answer lies in its climate. The majority of Mainers reside in the south or along the coast, where the land is more fertile and winters are reasonably cold. The rest of Maine endures harsh, Game of Thrones-like winters, contributing to its limited population density. Additionally, with 89% of the state covered in untouched forest and lacking substantial industry, Maine remains predominantly rural. Even though Portland is a lively city with a decent economy, the state as a whole doesn't offer much for young people, leading many to leave in their 20s, only considering returning for retirement. With a median age of 44.8 years, Maine has earned the title of the Pine Tree State with the oldest population. Number 8. Montana. With its vast farmland in the east and towering mountains and glaciers in the west, is a dream for aspiring cowboys. Despite its immense size of 147,000 square miles, the state houses only 1.12 million residents, making it less densely populated than Japan. The reason for this lies in the fact that most Americans, especially millennials and Gen Z, prefer urban living with job opportunities and city conveniences. Montana, lacking bustling metropolises, fails to attract such residents. Its largest city, Billings, has just over 100,000 residents, and some remote towns require a 2 to 3 hour drive to reach the nearest Walmart. Montana's appeal is further diminished by high home prices and extreme weather conditions, with temperatures at Rogers Pass hitting a record low of 70 degrees Fahrenheit. With snowfall occurring throughout the year, living in Montana can be too challenging for most, even if a summer visit to Glacier National Park sounds enticing. Number 7. Rhode Island. Rhode Island and Montana share only one similarity: their population. Montana, a vast landlocked state with mountains and open spaces, contrasts sharply with Rhode Island, a small coastal state with a flat terrain, covering just 1,034 square miles. Despite having fewer than 1.1 million residents, Rhode Island's limited size accounts for its population density, making it the second most densely populated state with 1,061 people per square mile. Almost the entire state is urban, integrated into the Providence metro area. Although the crowded population is gradually decreasing due to the rising cost of living, Rhode Island still competes well with New York in terms of attractions and opportunities. Number 6. Delaware. Delaware, although almost twice the size of Rhode Island, remains remarkably small at just 1,948 square miles, roughly the size of Anchorage. While Rhode Island benefits from the mid-sized city of Providence, Delaware relies on Wilmington, home to a surprising 70,000 residents. The absence of large metropolises in Delaware, despite hosting over 2 million corporations, can be traced back to historical factors. Although Wilmington could have been a strong contender, its proximity to Philadelphia, a mere 30 miles upstream, thwarted that possibility. Philadelphia's location was less susceptible to storms and closer to other major cities, and being the birthplace of the country added to its prominence. Moreover, Delaware's position away from the I-95 corridor and historical trading routes meant it didn't necessitate large cities, thriving instead on a beach tourism-based economy. A tax loophole in Delaware allows corporations to avoid state income tax by conducting business elsewhere, limiting job creation within the state. Nevertheless, retirees, unburdened by job requirements, are drawn to Delaware's beaches, contributing to the population growth of 1.02 million, which increased by 1.4% over the past year. Number 5. South Dakota. Known for Wall Drug, a cultural landmark that's not as exciting as the hype suggests, is more famous for Mount Rushmore. The prominence of Wall Drug, despite being underwhelming, speaks volumes about South Dakota. The state is vast, remote, and sparsely populated, contributing to its status as the 5th smallest state by both population and population density, with only 999,000 residents. To illustrate, South Dakota's land area is 177% larger than Florida's, yet it houses fewer residents than Jacksonville. Historically, the Great Plains states, including South Dakota, lacked major cities due to predominantly rural populations and economies based on agriculture and mining. Traveling through South Dakota, the landscape feels notably desolate compared to Nebraska or Kansas, characterized by a scarcity of houses, farms, truck stops, and signs of civilization. Number 4. North Dakota. Known for the darkest and coldest winters in the lower 48, along with sweltering summers and problematic spring flash floods. It's no surprise that less than 780,000 people reside in this solitary state. South Dakota outshines North Dakota with its more appealing scenery, better weather, tax laws, and a more varied economy. North Dakota faces isolation from major urban centers, affecting its access to supplies and services. Historically, westward settlers bypassed North Dakota, favoring coastal areas with more fertile land, abundant resources, and milder climates. Consequently, North Dakota never amassed a significant permanent population or developed substantial industries, even though it offered affordable farmland. Interestingly, many farmers who could have settled in North Dakota during the late 1800s and early 1900s opted for the Canadian prairies to the north, drawn by the Aspen Parkland Belt's unique ecosystem featuring ample rain, trees, and fertile soil. I mean, even Winnipeg, just 70 miles north of North Dakota, boasts a population greater than the entire state. Number 3. Alaska. Alaska stands as the giant among states, literally. Its immense size, spanning 665,000 square miles, is unparalleled. Even if you cut it in half, each part would still be the largest state. Despite its vastness, much of Alaska is remote and isolated. Traveling to the nearest non-Alaskan US city involves a 40-hour, 2,200-mile drive through Canada, and even within Alaska, towns are often hundreds of miles apart, with many major communities inaccessible by car. With only 16,000 miles of road in the entire state, 5,000 miles less than Connecticut, Alaska truly earns its nickname, the Last Frontier. Home to grizzlies, moose, and wolves wandering towns, it boasts vast untamed landscapes of forests, coasts, mountains, and tundra, surpassing the size of Mongolia. Despite its beauty, Alaska's wilderness is challenging, with a meager 733,000 residents willing to endure desolate, long, dark, and frigid winters where temperatures drop to 40 degrees Fahrenheit and daylight lasts less than 4 hours. Alaska's population density is a quarter of Mongolia's. Excluding Anchorage, the state's sole major city, the density drops to just 0.5 people per square mile. This vastness contributes to Alaska's highest violent crime rate and number of serial killers per capita, given the ample space for concealment. While the outdoors may be enticing, the cost of living is high, and the economy isn't robust, even with incentives to live in the state. Number 2. Vermont. with only 38.9% living in urban areas and the challenging mountainous terrain discouraging large city construction. Vermont has a sparse population of just 647,000. Considering Vermont's border with Canada, a commonality with over half the states on this list, a humorous thought arises. Do Americans avoid these states because they secretly dislike Canadians? While that notion has a humorous ring, a more plausible explanation is the cold climate associated with Canada. Vermont, however, defies this trend, drawing residents with its picturesque landscapes, affordability compared to other New England states, and thriving job market in Burlington. Since 2020, Vermont has become the most sought-after state to move to, and it remains to be seen if it will surpass Alaska or North Dakota in popularity in the years ahead. Before we reveal the top pick, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and share which state you'd prefer to live in. Moving on to the honorable mentions with larger populations than Maine, yet still relatively empty, we have New Mexico, boasting 2.1 million residents. However, being the fifth largest state, its population density of 17.2 people per square mile is the sixth lowest, especially if you exclude the densely populated Albuquerque metro area. Next is Idaho, with a population of 1.94 million, witnessing a growth of over 100,000 residents in the last 2 years. Despite this, Idaho remains sparsely populated, featuring the most untouched national forest in the nation and a density of just 22.3 people per square mile. Lastly, Nevada, home to 3.18 million people, surprises with 83% of its land uninhabited and 93% resembling desolate landscapes. Excluding Las Vegas, where 3/4 of Nevadans reside, the state's population density drops to a mere 7.7 people per square mile. And without further ado, number 1. Wyoming. Unless you've been out of the loop or residing in Rock Springs, you're likely aware that Wyoming is sparsely populated. While it ranks as the second least densely populated state, with only 5.9 people per square mile, its rugged terrain, housing 581,000 residents, isn't for the faint of heart. Wyoming lacks real cities, offering very few job opportunities and limited services. Were it not for government employment, comprising 25% of the workforce, Wyoming might lack a viable economy altogether. However, this dependence on government jobs contributes to Wyoming's status as one of the safest states to invest in real estate. That concludes our list for today. Which one of these states piqued your interest? I'd like to know about them in the comments below. If you enjoyed watching this video, you can check out Luxury Xplore for more, and don't forget to subscribe while you're at it. Thanks for watching, I'll see you in the next one.